Right guys, got it dragged down to the garage. Been standing for the last 7 years. I managed to fire it up. The management light's showing up on the dash. Alright, apparently it's showing up as a knock sensor, but what I've realized on this, it's not just a knock sensor, the rack's been doing their job. So I've got chopped up wires everywhere. Right, they've actually managed to get into the you can see that yellow tape there. That's the knock sensor wire. I've just pulled it off earlier, but I'll put that back together. Still giving me the same issue, so I'm going to run a few tests on it. Probably strip a bit of these bits and bobs down and have a proper look at the wiring loom. Right, I've got the oil light flashing up a bit as well. So normally the oil sensor be somewhere along there at the bottom. I'll probably just remove this alternator. Check actually. I'll probably move this alternator and check it out, and resolder bits and bobs and basically tape it back up. So I'll see you guys back in a bit. I'm just going to strip this down. I got nobody to hold the camera. Alright guys. Bloody hell. Okay. There is your oil sensor. Actually, let me just blow this off a bit. Alright, so you can see it's got leaves and all sorts everywhere. Alright. Sons of guns. They haven't left much in there. That looks better. Okay, here we go. There's my oil switch. No wire at the end of it. Right. I believe the wire which goes there is right here. That's for the oil switch. It should have been over there. These rats have chopped up all the wires there. There's a sensor here below. If you have a look, there are a few naked wires at the end of that. Right, even my crank sensor, you follow it up, wires are basically, well, they started chewing it. I don't think they got very long through with it, but I've got to look over there. But I think personally, because my oil switch wire is chopped, that's why I don't have I still have the actual knock sensor. Well, that's my theory at the moment, right? I don't know. I'm gonna put these wires back together and then know for definite, but I personally think because the oil pressure switch is chopped, right, the engine might be running a bit differently. That's why the knock sensor code is probably throwing out. But I'm gonna join these up and check that back up again. Right, but even here they've made a mess on the top. Alternator wires have been chopped, a few wires at the top here, so I've got to solder all of this stuff up and then recheck the other side and see what's what, and then get it firing up, see if I can get rid of that code. Well, I've actually put the crank sensor on. I've done the bottom one for the crank sensor. Got two sensors basically at the moment, which I need to sort that out. I need the oil one and one of these basically. Lucky me, I've got another engine, right, with the wiring loom on there, so it looks like a bit of a chop up of a plug, because this is pulled out from too close. Can't really do nothing with this. It's some mess. Actually just snapped up right from the end, so it's going to be a weak connection. So best thing to do is see if I got the one on the stand. Just take two plugs off that and make ends meet. I've got another engine here lying around for some time, so what I'm planning on doing is probably just take whatever I can off that for now. Right. Two plugs I need to chop off. So I believe it's this one here for the oil switch. Got it a bit more longer. Oh, I need this plug. So I've got one, and the second one is right here. Let's chop this one. Alright, that's the second one. Alright, so I've got two plugs. I'm gonna solder them back on. Lucky me for that engine. I had it there for a while, but it's done the job. Made ends meet. Yeah. So there we go. There's the two plugs that I need for here. So I'm gonna quickly solder them on. Let's see if I can get rid of and do some testing then on wires. Pointless testing them when half of the wires are chopped off for codes. Basically don't make any sense. Put a bit of plastic on it, it'll shrink on there nicely, so nothing actually just shorted afterwards. You see a little liquid coming out at the end. So once you see on both sides, you're good. There you go. That's done for you. This stuff is really good. It's a wire, it's a piece of plastic which normally when you heat it up, it pushes a little bit of adhesive out on both sides and gets tightened up properly basically. So this is nice. That's how it should be. That's nicely done. As you can see on that side as well, there's no holes left, so a bit of tape I'm going to wrap around it. Don't really need to, but just make it look good. I'm going to do the same with the rest of them, and I'm going to get back to you. Right lads, that looks a bit better. So there's one, there's two, there's the third one. Right lads, this is all sorted out. I've been having a lot of fun over the weekend. Put together all of this mess basically. The alternator's back in, and the fan belt and so on. but the code P0327 was still coming up. Now the issue was basically that we were getting, I had to look at a PDF, right, which was a bit of a mess up because a lot of them are different basically. So I don't know if you can see this, I've got it on my phone, the PDF, that's a knock sensor, is showing basically the terminal, right, which is 2, and it's showing basically the color is red and blue. L apparently stands for blue, and then it's obviously got these earths running and into different channels like the crank sensor and the cam sensor. But basically on this one it said yellow at the end. On the B20 plug it said yellow, right? So up to this connector where it was still red and blue, which I will show you in a bit, but where it's yellow I have a white there basically. And basically the problem was the rats, thanks to them again, chopped the wire off. It's red with the blue line, I believe. Right, now this basically goes onto here basically. I've chopped that wire up because the remaining wire had a blue covering over it as well, right? And I wasn't getting any voltage. From what I believe, you're supposed to get a bit of voltage out of it basically on ignition. So what I've done is I had an old engine lying around which I've took the plugs off anyway. It's a scrap engine, so I had the loom on there. I've took it off, and what I've done is, this is how these are connected, so don't get confused. I've chopped that off this basically, right? I think you'll get a better idea if I show it to you on this rather than the broken connector. Alright, so if you have a look at this, that's how these be basically. Now, do you see any other wires around there? No. You just got a blue coating wire. Now underneath this blue coating is the earth which runs all the way along. Right, it's like what you would have in an aerial wire. Basically, I'll show you. Right, it's right here. That little thing had loads of little splices coming out, basically like you would have in an aerial wire as an earth, right? And once the rats chewed it up, what happened was some of these little things, they were actually touching the actual terminal, so it was killing all the voltage off. So basically what I've done is this old loom, when I chased it up, right, the rest of the wire, this is the wire, and it goes up to this connector, right? And this connector is basically, from what I can believe on here, it would be E1. I would say E1, right? And then if you look at it, it says pin number 6, which if you look at the pin number 6 on here, just to keep it in small English, right? Somewhere here should be. No, we've not got it here. There it is. Onto a B20 connector, pin number 6 is right in the middle there, right? So that's what it is. You got it on pin number 6, right? And then you've got on the opposite side of the plug, you have a white wire coming out. This, let me just grab the light. It has a white wire where I've got the pin stuck up in there at the minute. Right, sorry, not a white wire, it's a yellow wire. So the PDF is right, this has actually got a yellow wire in it. Right, my bad. Right, it's got a yellow wire in it, which obviously links up to the ECU. So that's the way you read these in small English. basically. So what we got here again, so it was pin number 6, right? So it goes into the knock sensor, right? And then you follow the plug itself is classed as E14, and the red and the blue is the terminal, which links up obviously up to the next plug. Now this is the plug I've just showed you where it says E1, which is basically this one here, right? Now on this plug you got the this actually plugs into that, right, which is still got the red and blue wire, right? And then you got obviously terminal 6, which I've just shown you on that, and then you got the B20 plug, right, which is that one with the pin in there. Alright, grab the light. Got that one there with the pin in it, which has the actual yellow wire coming out of it, right? And that obviously hits into the ECU. Alright, so that's a small way, small and shortest way I can put it into how you read it. So I've got this on my camera, so I could only take half of the shot, but that's what it's showing on there. Basically the yellow wire actually goes into the ECU. So that's that, right? But as I said, I chased that wire up all the way just to make sure it is that, basically, right? And then I tried getting some voltage out of it. The voltage which came out of the yellow wire, I was getting, I think it was 3.2 volts or something like that out of the yellow wire, right? After that's basically on ignition, unplugged, right? And when plugged, I wasn't getting anything. It was dropping down to 0.2, basically virtually nothing, right? So that's what I realized, that this little earth thing has been touching it. Once I took the intercooler off, I realized this, because the wires were chewed, that earth wire was touching the actual wire which is supposed to be on the connector. This, all you do is chop it off from there, right, and leave it in. It doesn't actually go anywhere. If you look at the actual connector itself, right, that's how it should be, right? So see, these wires, they actually inside this coating, right, where I'm holding it from, they actually be inside there. So you just chop them off from there, and the other end of the wire obviously bridges up. This is where they actually come handy. So you can see them here, right, going into, bridging into, probably this might be for the crank sensor or the cam sensors. Not 100% sure. I didn't really look it up, as I didn't need to. And if you have the input there, right, voltage, right, I believe some of them might go up to, I mean, my battery was a little down, so not sure, you might have fluctuated a little, but I've roughly got about 3.2 volts out of it. Once I put it on there, but now when I tested it, obviously I've separated those wires. I'm getting 3.2 volts in the back of the knock sensor wiring again. So I'm assuming that should be okay. After that, is that little wire has been cut off, right, and the main knock sensor wire has been soldered back on, right, which is this one, which I'm gonna do, and that should knock the actual code off. But other than that, it's been a bit of a nightmare, basically. Whenever you park a car somewhere, make sure it's not parked there for years, because you'll just get rats crawling up, chopping up everything, right, making themselves feel at home, basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld that back up and then try putting, going back on there. I'm not going to do one thing and then put another thing in a video and another thing in the video and another thing in the video, because that's what I've been looking at. You just end up going through hundreds of videos and there's nothing there. You do a start to finish thing, right? So, at least this is for the DIY guys. They know what's, I mean, somebody, you put this thing in front of somebody, how is he meant to read it, right? A normal person, he wouldn't make a left or a right out of this, right? And just like RL, I don't know. I personally think it'd be awkward for somebody, but if I go onto the colors there, if you look at it, where it says the R is the red and the L is the blue, apparently the B is for black, right? So it gives you a bit of an indication of how to read them, right? But I've put it in small English so people know exactly what they're looking at, and you know, just basic English basically, right? So once that's done, basically we're gonna erase the error code and see how it goes, right? I mean, I've used to break these, so I've got plenty of parts still left over. I've even got another genuine knock sensor lying around, right, which it should be working basically, because a lot of the engines came out working. There wasn't really anything wrong with them. But yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put and solder this together, right, and might call it a day. And it's almost 9 o'clock basically at the minute, but once that's done, we'll see how it goes, see if it erases everything up, and get this bloody thing all rubbed down and get it back to normal, how it was a while back. So what I'm going to do is I'll see you guys hopefully in the next clip. Alright guys, that's nicely soldered up. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to use the usual tubing I normally use, which has adhesive in there. I've just put that over it and smack it about here, right in the middle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to heat it up. Use my heat gun. Lightly go over it. Can you see a bit of adhesive coming out of it? It's shrinking on there nicely. See a bit of adhesive bubbled up on this side, and we'll do the same on the other side. Yeah, there we go. That should do the job. Yeah. That's all done. That's all done. But look at it. See the adhesive coming out of there? Same with this side. It's nice and tight on there now. All I do is, in case somebody else later on tries to check these, you want to. Sorry guys, don't know what happened there. Must have touched the camera. This wire, I'm just gonna push over it. Alright, so let it go over a bit. There you go. Well, it's done. That should do the job. So let's put it back together and see what goes on. Let's see if it actually has done the job. So I'll see you back shortly. Alright guys, welcome back. Everything's been put back together. Wires have been done, intercooler's been put back together. I've just put the ignition on. Alright, I've erased the error code, remeasuring the actual voltage, if I can put this camera somewhere, right, and I'm getting roughly from the pin just about 2 volts, 1.97, good enough for me, right? That's what it's come down to with the plug on, right? That's measuring it from this pin, which I need to pull out, right, where the yellow wire is. There's a red pin stuck in there. Right, pretty cheap. You can pick up a pair of these from places. I just use these as long as you don't hurt them anyway. So that's what I'm getting. So the voltage, everything's okay. We got the same voltage on the actual plug on the other side with everything on there. If I disconnect the connector from here and leave the ignition on, and from the other side, it'll give me about 3.2 volts. So alright, as you can see, even on the inside, I've just used the OBD on the actual engine, so there's no management light on. Yeah, everything's all well. Just got the door and the handbrake light on. Obviously I got to top up the fuel. Other than that, it's all good. So it's worth messing around with. The best thing to do is always diagnose the stuff. I didn't change no knock sensor, nothing. Code's gone. Besides that, I say it was worth testing. And I wanted to do a video on this because a lot of people have been doing videos, but it just doesn't make any sense. I show you how to test a knock sensor, right? I mean, you need to check the actual wiring and stuff like that. What if it isn't the knock sensor, right? So a lot of the time, as I said, right, if you diagnose something properly, make sure you got no chops on the wire. I've done quite a lot to this over the weekend, but my problem is solved now. And take this battery off because I think it needs charging up, so I need to move it around still to do the body work on this. But once it's finished, hopefully I can put it in another video. Car's been standing for a good long time, but I've just never had time, lost interest in it at the time, and not long ago I've just got it back into the workshop because it was just getting all messed up under the tree and everything where it was parked on the drive. But yeah, basically the whole point of diagnosing is so you can pinpoint the problem out, you know exactly what's wrong with it. You don't have to waste your money. It's a little bit of homework. As I said, I'm adding this video on there with all the requirements and how to read the PDF and everything, right, in small English, not giving you a lecture for a long time and then just to push the video up, right? It's not like that. It's pointless me making one video just out of what kind of voltage it should be, second one how to read a schematic, a third one, you know, soldering wires. It doesn't make any sense. So you do one video, you do a quick check, right? Make sure you get down to the bottom of the problem. It was giving me 3.2 volts with the plug off. It's on the driver's side. Sorry guys, camera's playing up, it's getting all like me. So where was I? Yeah, these were the actual plugs. It's the one in the middle, the grey one, as I said before. And with the plug plugged off, right, you're getting about 3.2 volts. Whether you unplug it from this side or the knock sensor side. So with it on, I've as you can see earlier on, got about 1.97, so it's about 2 volts. Obviously battery's been a bit down, so it might have fluctuated here and there, but about 2 volts roughly I would say. So now I suppose that's the end of the video. So do subscribe please. God bless and see you till next time.